All right, welcome to the final week of Tours Plaza Premiere. This is the most tense week we have had yet. And before I look at matchups or review last week, the first thing I want to do is look at the current kind of playoff outlook for all the teams. First of all, this is a doc that was created for this premiere, and a huge thank you to everyone who's been maintaining this. This is really helpful to have. Nice to look at, and it's more interesting than me just having the matchups tab open all the time. So in first we have the Absol posters, and they are locked into the playoffs, and they have won 3 times and have not been defeated yet. I would say there's roughly an 85% chance that they get the first round bye and the number 1 seed. So they are in a very good position. And to make matters better for them, this week they're playing the Lotads, who are the weakest team at the moment by record, so they should be able to win that. The other thing, Lotads are statistically eliminated. They cannot make the playoffs because they have not yet won a match. And so that leaves 4 teams that are vying for the remaining 2 playoff positions. So we have the Zams, the Lurantis, the Bumblebees, and the Piplups. The Zams and the Lurantis are in the best positions so far because they are up a game on the Bumblebees and the Piplups. And in addition to that, they have a +4 kind of like win-loss ratio. In most team tour leagues, the tiebreaker is like just a best-of-3 format. But this one's a little different from, say, BLT, and we're using the win-loss ratio to determine tiebreakers in the regular season. And for that reason, it's even more difficult for the Bumblebees and the Piplups to pass them up, which is a little unfortunate, but it's definitely still possible. So basically, if the Alakazams win, they're in. If the Lurantis win, they're in. If they tie, Zams tie or Lurantis tie, they're still in. Essentially, for the Bumblebees or Piplups to win, they would have to win their match, and they'd have to win it by a large enough margin that they would then be able to equalize the win-loss ratio with the team that they defeated. As you can see, that can be difficult because, for example, the Piplups have -4, and then the Zams and Lurantis both have +4. And then the Bumblebees have -2, but it could still happen. I'm interested to see how it plays out. I think it could definitely go either way. I'm excited to see how this all ends up. And hopefully the Piplups can make the playoffs, but who knows? Alright, so that being said, I'm going to start reviewing the matches from week 4. So first off, we had the Lightning Lotads, who played the Louisiana Lurantis and were soundly defeated. First off, we had Jay. Why does that say 7-1? Okay, that is not correct. It should be 6-2, I believe. So, yeah. Anyway, Mixed and Mega Tier Shift, we had Jay versus Mihawk. This was not remotely close. Mihawk had an Oricorio Pom-Pom that just really dominated the entire match, and Jay just really wasn't able to play around it. So a very nice win for Mihawk there. Then, in the next tier, we had IKIQ versus Spitfire. I talked about that last time, so I'm not really going to go into that, but Spitfire did win, despite bringing some very unique sets. And then Camomano, we had McGagger versus Poison Adhesive, and Poison won. I talked about that last time as well. It was only 3 turns. Not very interesting. McGagger just tried to set up and was punished by Heatran. So then, UU plus UUBL Nosy Inverse. We had Aeternum versus Prank. Essentially what happened here is that Aeternum kind of brought a pretty offensive team with several setup mons, and then he was able to set up his Necrozma, and Prank just didn't have an answer for that, and it just destroyed his team. So a very nice win for A there. And it's nice to see, like, the team he brought this week really shows a much better understanding of the tier, I mean, for him. Whereas his team he brought against Trace, I didn't really like. He ended up winning, but I like this team much more. So that's definitely a nice sign of improvement. Ranbat's TS Camo, Rusty 1, Clash of Ranbat's staff. And cap doubles, we had Frosty Ice Lad versus LOL Troll Game. There were a few misses in this match, but I think overall, LTG just brought a better team, and in addition to that, outplayed. Then, NU Custom Rules, we had ODR versus Starreal. I think both players played pretty solid. I better take a look just to make sure I'm not forgetting any. I have like 1,000 replay tabs open. I've had to watch 56 replays today. Very strange. Yeah, not really a lot of big misplays here. Just a solid game, and then Aerodactyl was able to come in and wrap it up. Alright, so then we had a final match, Roggenwald versus Manu 11, and Manu was victorious. Very nice win for him, and that continued his undefeated record against Roggenwald, who is a very solid player, so a nice win there for sure. Then, Picture Perfect Piplups versus Snuggle Bunnelbees. And let me tell you, I am so proud of the Piplups for keeping our playoff hopes alive. We were down 0-3 going into Sunday, and then we were able to go 4-1 on yesterday, and we're able to bring it back to a tie. So we are still in contention. So that was very exciting. So first off, Mix and Mega Tier Shift, we had McCoy versus Tempering. McCoy got off to a really good start, but then he kind of threw the game by going for Stealth Rocks on his Mega Bronzong onto a Sablenite, I believe, Sablenite Florges. So then Stealth Rocks were bounced back, and then in addition to that, the Florges was able to synthesis up, where he should have just went for Gyro Ball and gotten the kill, and then he wouldn't have had to deal with the Stealth Rocks later on. And if he had done that, I think he just would have won the game, because he was in a much better position at that point. And then next up we had Pokiart 2004 versus Siembro 26. And I haven't talked about this one yet, but basically for the Absol posters, the Number Man destroyed Quero using a Magnet Pull Drapion. And the moment after I saw that match, I was like, we're bringing this, because I've been helping Pokiart with the building for his tier. And so I said, I definitely think you should bring this week, and it ended up working really well. And actually, his opponent, Siembro, had a decent counter. He was actually running Worry Seed Ferrothorn, which is a very interesting set. But unfortunately, his Chansey wasn't running anything like Roar, which could have saved him, and so Drapion was just able to sweep. And so that just really goes to show how dominant Amon it is in the tier. And I'm kind of interested to see how people's team building adapts, knowing that that's out there. Personally, I expect Ferrothorn usage to drop quite a bit, and I think Celesteela use will drop a bit as well. Not as much as Ferrothorn, though, because then, like, Celesteela can still use, like, Whirlwind, for example, so, yes. Alright, so next up we had Siphicon versus Sambiku Kaiju. This was probably my favorite match to watch of this entire week. Essentially what this was Mega Swampert and Mega Venusaur going at it, and then occasionally they'd just switch out. That's really what it felt like. And you might think Mega Venusaur would just win, but actually Giga Drain isn't typically run on Mega Venu, so it didn't have an attacking grass move, and so Mega Swampert was actually kind of on even turf with Mega Venu. They both brought pretty bulky teams, and normally Siphicon brought a Rest Mega Swampert, which is very, very, very rare set, but it worked absolutely flawlessly in this match. I'm really proud of him for grabbing that win against Sam, and yeah, if you haven't watched that match, I would encourage you to see it. I thought it was very interesting, a lot of switching, and if you do watch it, you'll really see what I mean by it was Mega Venu and Friends versus Mega Swampert and Friends. Then we had the UU format which was the Amuse versus not actually Trace, and not Ryzios either. It was the Amuse versus Lance. So I don't know what would have happened if Lant would have won because they already had Sam playing. But fortunately, we didn't have to get into the details of that just because the Amuse did win. Lant could have won at the end, but Komala's... because Lant got Spore out on his opponent's Mamoswine, so he was then setting up his Breloom, but then Mamoswine was able to wake up quickly enough that he could take out Breloom before it killed the rest of his Pokemon, so solid win there, and we really needed it as well. Alright, so Rambet's TS Camo, Cheese won. Cheese has been playing very well in Ranbat, so impressive win for him. And then Cap Doubles was my match versus Freeze Shaka, and I thought there were only 2 E's in Freeze Shaka, but I don't know. Maybe it's different on Discord. I'll take a look at that later. Anyway, so I brought actually the same team I brought against Boyne in week 1. I admit I didn't really prepare that much. Had a pretty busy week, which is why last week's video was so late. And then I just kind of posted a couple teams I was considering in the Piplups Discord and told my managers to choose, and they picked that one. And it ended up working out okay. I was a little scared at Team Preview just because I brought a team that was pretty weak to Trick Room, as most of the mons are pretty fast, and kind of its best anti-Trick Room strategy is just kind of having Gothitella stall things out. I think Freeze brought a pretty interesting team. He brought a few Catmons, which I like to see, even though I haven't brought any. I think I will maybe at some point. And he brought Mega Ampharos, who is very, very rarely seen. I've probably only seen Mega Amp under 15 times in roughly 1,600 Gen 7 DOU battles I've played. Yeah, so that was a nice win for the Piplups as well. And hats off to Gothitelle. I could not have done that without that mod. Alright, so then we had NU, and it was Geove97 versus Arverardo. Arverardo won this pretty easily. Geove brought a team that was pretty weak to Heliolisk, and Arverardo brought Heliolisk, which was nice for him. And in the end, Geove actually had a chance because Arverardo missed a Fire Blast that would have ended the game. But then Geove went for Gigavolt Havoc instead of first going for Shift Gear. And so we lost that even with the hacks. So in Uber's Blitz, we had Dan Demand 99 versus Excelsior. Another nice win for Excelsior after he had the good win over Raggenald last week. I think Dan made a few crucial plays in this match. He tried to set up his Arceus normal and his Xerneas kind of at the wrong time, per se. You should never, ever, ever set up a Xerneas when your opponent still has a healthy Magearna left, because those things always run Heart Swap in Ubers. And Excelsior was able to get the Heart Swap, and that really screwed Dan's team over. Alright, so then Absol Posters versus Stockpiling Alakazams. Going into this, these were the ranked 1 and 2 teams. So, very interesting match to see. That being said, the Absols won. So, first off, they had a huge, huge win over one of the Zam's best players, Buster the Laddie. And Nakib did a really nice job of pulling it off. I think Laddie should have made his teams more different than what he did before in previous matches. And I think Nakib was probably able to prepare for that a bit better. And I think he also brought the Oricorio, I think. Want to make sure of that. Nope. So hard when there are like 30 of these. Okay, that one's not even loading. Anyway, I think he brought Oricorio Pom Pom, but I just want to make sure. Yeah, he did, yeah. And that proved to be a very effective mon again, so I think people are realizing that that's just a powerful Pokemon to have on your team, and I expect to see more of that mon in future matches. Alright, so then... Where was I? Alright. Stabmons, that was the Number Man versus Quero. That was the Drapion sweep. And that is quite the set, let me tell you. Very impressive work. Then, Camo Mono, we had Kither versus Carl Guy. Kither did win this very cleanly. Just played solid throughout the whole game. And brought a Jirachi set that absolutely devastated Carl's team. Because Carl was using a Victini that was choiced. And so then Kither was able to just use Protect on his Wish. I'm confusing my legendaries. Yeah. Jirachi, yes. I keep confusing Jirachi with Raichu because people call it Rachi, and then I think it's Raichu. And it's not, obviously, so my bad. Anyway, so, Jirachi, not Raichu. Not Raichu. This isn't Mix and Mega Tier Shift. Yes, Jirachi was incredibly powerful in that match. I don't think Carl necessarily misplayed. He just didn't have a good enough answer for the Jirachi, and Kither just played solid throughout the whole game. So, nice win there. Then Yu Axe had another good win, so he is undefeated against Ivy. And yeah, I think after turn 1, I felt like Axe was just going to win. He was in a far better position. Because how it opened, Ivy opened with Mega Beedrill, which is the most common opening we've seen in this tier. And Axe opened with a Mienshao. And Mienshao ended up being Scarf, so he just U-turned and one-shot Mega Beedrill. And Ivy actually misplayed because he should have checked for Scarf by switching in his Avalugg. And even if it wasn't Scarf, then Mienshao would be running Fake Out. And Mega Beedrill is so frail that you don't really want it to be hit by even a light priority move like that. So either way, the correct play would have been switching in Avalugg. So a misplay there that probably cost him the rest of the game and made it very difficult to play. So Rambas TS Camo, Casual.exe won. I think he's just been playing pretty solid throughout the tour, so nice win there as well. Cap doubles, we had Boyne versus Mamalu. This was a pretty good match. They both brought Tailwind offense. So that was interesting to see. There was a Heat Wave miss at the end, but I think Boyne just played very solid throughout the match and ended up taking the win. Also, Mamalu has been bringing the same team every week, and that allowed Boyne to just prepare for it, and Mamalu is putting himself in kind of a disadvantageous spot just going into matches by bringing the same team. Then we had Enpopat versus Sacred CV. Sacred CV won. I don't have too much to say about this. Relatively pretty clean game. Nice win for Sacred there. Then Uber's Blitz. Plimslepunk showed why he's such a good player in this match. I have faced his Cottony Uber's team before, and I am glad that we got to see it in this tour. So, essentially, Cottony just shredded Ice Master, and a very interesting game to be sure. So I would definitely recommend watching that if you haven't, and then it might give you a good idea for a new Uber's team. Alright, so week 5, we're going to dive into this. Picture Perfect Piplups versus Louisiana Lurantis. And remember, Piplups need to win this match by a pretty good margin. And if Lurantis wins, they are locked into the playoffs. So, or ties, then they're also locked in. So, very important match. So, Mix and Mega Tier Shift, we have Hockey of Kings versus Spitfire Arcanine. Hockey hasn't played MNMTS yet in this tour. And Spitfire hasn't been great, but he has been average, while Hockey just hasn't performed too well in the tiers that have required building, so I'm going to have to give it to Spitfire 60-40. So then, next up we have Stabmons and Pokeart 2004 versus Mihawk. I think this should be interesting. Mihawk brought a very well-built team last week. And then also, Pokeart is obviously 4-0 and has been performing very well. I think it would be a huge gain for us Piplups if we could get this win. I'm going to favor Pokeart 60-40 and just watch out Mihawk because we're going to bring some heat against you. Not necessarily fire types. So, maybe, I don't know. Anyway, that was awkward. So Mix and Mega Tier Shift, Hockey of King. Oh no, I already said that. I need to get sleep. I got messed up by daylight savings time. I thought it was like 8, and then it turned out it was 9, so I don't know. Okay, so we had the Amuse versus Poison Adhesive. Obviously, Poison is a very good player, but this isn't monotype, so I think the Amuse could definitely pull out a win here. And I just realized I skipped Camo Mono, so I'll get back to that after this. So anyway, the Amuse has been playing pretty solid throughout the tour and has really put in a lot of effort into their teams. And PA has been putting in a lot of effort as well. Teams look very solid and well built. But that being said, I think the Amuse's extra experience in this format will give him the advantage, so I'm going to have to favor him 60-40. Then Sifcon versus Rusty Sheriff Badge. Rusty Sheriff Badge has been playing Ranbat, so hasn't had to do a lot of building for this tour, whereas Sifcon has only played building tours, and specifically only Camo Mono. And all that great experience, as well as a really strong and well-played win over Sam last week, I think will lead him to victory. So I'm going to pick Siffy 65-35. Alright, so Rambat's TS Camo, we have Youngster Joey versus Prank. So neither of these players have won yet in the tour, but I think Prank has just shown me a little more. So I'm going to pick him 55-45, but that really doesn't mean much just because it's Ranbats and anything could happen. So, cap doubles, we have myself versus LTG. I think LTG played very solid last week, so I'm excited to face off against him. Won't be picking this match. Let's just see how it goes. And NU, we have Dan Demand 99 versus Starreel. Starreel has been decent in the tour, where Dan has been having a very rough tour after his undefeated LT. I think he's going to look for a comeback and hopefully can take out Starreel. But Starreel has just been playing better during TPP, and as much as I hate to do it, I'm going to have to favor them 65-35. Alright, so then Uber's Blitz, we had Velvet Blood versus Mew 11. This match actually happened and Velv lost, which was really unfortunate. This is even more important a game, considering this is the 5th week and the playoff spots are on the line. There was a Fire Blast miss, which really did matter, and that probably cost Velv the game, even though Velv played the end game absolutely phenomenally. And so Manu does advance to 5-0, which is obviously very impressive despite a couple more hacksy games. But that was just a really unfortunate loss, so still sad about that. So then, Lightning Lotads versus Absol Posters. This is the game that doesn't really matter much, but I will predict it anyway. So IKIQ versus Nikib. IKIQ has been okay, but Nikib has been surprisingly very good, and had a very nice win over Laddie last week, so I think he's just shown me more building skill, and I think that'll give him the victory 60-40. So, Stabons, or I'm not trying to pronounce it, Elvis Wrath versus Alupariza. I'm going to pick Alu. I think Alu has been playing better. I think Elvis has been okay, but just hasn't really shown me a lot of outplaying throughout his matches. Whereas I think Alu has had some really solid wins, like the one over Lantern Light. So then Camo Mono, Elgino versus Kither. I'm excited that we'll see Elgino in another building tier instead of Ranbats this week. So, especially against Kither. Elgino's obviously very good, but Kither has been absolutely phenomenal in Camo Mono, so I'm going to have to pick Kither 70-30. But hopefully, I'm really hoping Elgino brings a really cool team and gives us a great game anyway. So, UU, we have Aethernum versus Beskel, Clash of Managers. This is my #1 highlight match of the week. And I'm interested to see what they both bring. Aeth has obviously been playing this tier and has actually been undefeated despite having some rather questionable games like the one against Trace. And Beskel, I believe, has only played one match, which was a loss, but I don't know if there was a second match. I think just the one. But I think Beskel is probably a bit of a better builder, especially considering his role in the OM mashups room. And then, so, I gotta pick one. You know what, I'm gonna go with the upset and pick Beskel 55-45, and let's see what happens. So, Rambat's TS Camo will have Roggenwald versus IMT Flugel. I think I'm going to take Flugel because Flugel has been playing pretty well in Ranbats, and Roggenwald hasn't been playing in it yet. But that being said, Ranbats, anything can happen, so coin flip in the end. Next up, we have Cap Doubles, Farneo 2 versus Boyne. I'm going to have to pick Boyne just because of his greater experience in the tier. And he did have the very strong win last week over Mamalu, who is a very solid doubles player. So I'm going to take him 70-30. Then NU, we have ODR versus Enpopat. I'm going to take ODR 65-35. Enpopat, I believe, has a winning record, but I haven't found his wins to be as impressive as ODR's wins. ODR has had more dominant victories per se and has beaten some more impressive characters. Not characters, players, not characters. Wow, what is this? Video game? It is a video game, my bad, but like still real people, you know what I mean. So anyway, I'll pick ODR. Then Uber's Blitz, Frosty Ice Lad versus Ice Master 523. And I'm going to take Ice Master because I think their anything goes experience will lead them to victory. But I would like to see Frosty Ice Lad snag a victory because I think he's been playing solid but has just gotten some rougher matchups, or I would like to see them get a win. So still I'm going to have to favor Ice Master 60-40, and personally I'm hoping they both bring Mono Ice. So Snuggle Bumblebees versus Stockpiling Alakazams. This is the other game which really matters to the playoffs. Mix and Mega Tiership, we have Temp versus Buster the Laddie. I'm going to pick Laddie 60-40, even coming off the last week. I think Laddie has shown more in the tier, so should be able to deliver the win if he does careful team building. Still, I think Temp has a good chance to take it if he just plays carefully and, like Laddie, just builds very solid. Then, next up we have Sambiku Kaiju versus Quero. And I'm going to take Sam because he showed me a lot more in his match, which was of a different tier, whereas Quero had the unfortunate loss where he just got schooled by the Drapion. Still, I think it could go either way, and I think Quero's experience in the tier will give him an advantage. But still, I think Sam's a better player overall, so I'll have to pick him 60-40. So then Camo Mono, we'll have Siembro versus Ivy. And I'm interested to see how this goes. I'm going to pick Siembro, but only 55-45. I think these two players are pretty evenly matched, so I think we should get a pretty solid game out of them. And this match, as more of a coin flip, will be really pivotal in determining who goes to the playoffs. Then, UU, we have Trace versus Plimslepunks. I'm really hopeful that we'll see Trace play, because if we actually get Trace versus Plimslepunks, that would be a fantastic game. Plim has been playing at a very, very high level, and Trace has not won yet. He's had some rougher games, and I'd like to see him try to make a comeback. And winning against one of the best players in Plaza would be a huge boon for him. That being said, I'm going to pick Plim 60-40 over Trace, and if someone subs in, I think Plim would probably have an even better odds of winning than 60-40. So then, Rambats, Cheese versus CDE. I think both these players have been solid in the tier, so it'll probably just come down to matchup. Coin flip once again. So this game could really go either way. Then cap doubles, Free Shaka versus Mamalu. I think Mamalu is better at the doubles tier. He has very high GXE and good ladder, though doubles ladder is kind of questionable. But I think if he brings the same team that he's always been bringing, he'll probably lose. But if he finds a way to change it up and brings a good team this week, he could have a really good shot at winning. Free Shaka has been bringing some very cool teams. They're very unique. Mega Blastoise against Frosty 2 weeks ago. And then yesterday, Mega Amp Shroom against me. I'm interested to see what he brings this week, and if he gets a favorable matchup, I think he should be able to take down Mamalu. So I think that's pretty close to a 50-50 as well. Then NU, we have Arvarado versus Sacred CV. I'm going to have to pick Arvarado 80-20. He has been absolutely phenomenal, whereas Sacred has been more mediocre. And I think Arvarado should be able to take this. Alright. Final match, Uber's Blitz, Excelsior versus Haida. And I'm going to take Excelsior 60-40, just because they have had the really two great wins over the last 2 weeks. So I think they should be able to deliver and come up with the win if they continue playing like the way they've been. And that is it for the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I was planning on doing the MG and Raj recap video, which was requested by a player who will be unnamed, but we will say he likes Alakazam. And then I'll also postpone the TPP Week 3 recap, which I, for some reason, haven't done until tomorrow as well, because I need to get to bed. I am clearly tired, and I hope you enjoyed the vid. So let's have a great last week, and